So Black Ops 6 has been announced, and finally the returns to round-based zombies, and honestly, I'm excited. I've been a fan and played Call of Duty for well over a decade. I've bought every COD since Black Ops 2, and I've gone back and played every COD from World at War. And even though I love the multiplayer and sometimes the campaign, the main thing I play COD for is zombies. And I think I speak for most of the community here. Do not f*** this up, because even though it hasn't been the most consistent, and we've seen a few renditions of this game mode, it really has had its peaks. And if Treyarch take their time and listen to the community, I think zombies can be saved. Or they'll run it into the ground because they're money grabbing.
Hey, Pumba! Not in front of the kids.
Oh, sorry.
But after watching the BO6 reveal, I've just had a mad urge to play zombies. And even though Black Ops 3 is my favourite, I wanted to play something that's as close to BO6, which leads us to Cold War. Now, is Cold War the best zombies? Definitely not, but it does hold a special place in my heart. What can I say? I just find it really fun. And don't get me wrong, it is incredibly easy. But I think it holds up quite well, even years later. And even though I've always had the idea of doing some round 100 videos, and actually months ago I did play Cold War and get round 100 on all the maps, but then I deleted the files because I'm an idiot. I guess there's no better time to start it now. So, without further ado, here's round 100 on every Cold War Zombies map. So we're going to kick it off with Forsaken, and I actually really enjoy this map. I thought the aesthetic was really cool, and even though the map is just a reskin of one of the campaign missions, I actually thought it was pretty decent, and I'd kind of put it in the same category as what they did for Der Riese. Like, I think they successfully zombified an already existing map, and this is the most fun first room in any Zombies map. So to start off, I just stay in the first room to just get a bunch of points. And I really love the start of this map because the zombies are just wild from the get-go, and you just fly through the rounds. And you'll see a common theme with these round 100 runs. I always use the M79 just because it's so ridiculously OP. I can see why they released PhD with this map at the end, because Cold War originally was like a little bit harder. One thing that was pretty cool and unique was the arsenal. Basically, they got rid of shields and double tap by allowing you to upgrade the rarity of your gun and armor. It wasn't my favorite system, but it was pretty fun. I buy Death Perception because why not? After surviving 16 rounds and having 34,000 points, I decided to leave. Now the setup for this map's pretty easy. Now that I've got a load of points, I just buy my perks and pretty much open all of the map. One of the things I think Cold War perfected was like pacing, because the entire game is really fast paced, and that combined with the movement of your playable character, it's just so much fun. So if you've never played Forsaken, to turn on the power you just need to get a few parts. These are all just scattered around this area. It's just a shame with this map though, because you have all these cool areas like the cinema and Burger Town, and you just never go back to them. And this is one of the things I have to get out of the way first. Deadshot Daiquiri is fully broken in Cold War. Like, look here, whoever designed this perk, it's just broke. You can just spam and you get headshots. I have no idea if this was intentional. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is fun, but it really makes things a lot easier. So next you just fix this teleporter thing. Then it takes this room where it's to initiate a mini boss fight. And I thought the bosses in Cold War were really unique. Each map had their own individual boss, which I thought was pretty neat as well. Turn on the power, get a PhD slider. I thought the Pack-a-Punch tiers were pretty cool as well, so we quickly Pack-a-Punch and then we're set. Now, always in the setup for Cold War, I always use the trial machines, and it just makes getting the wonder weapon for each map just really easy, which I still don't know if I'm a fan of. I think I would have just rather built the weapon each time and learn it, where I actually can't even remember how to build any of the weapons for Cold War. So that is one of the things I hope BO6 doesn't have. I don't mind trials, but I just think the rewards need to be like a lot lower. I personally prefer learning the map and learning how to build a new wonder weapon with the longer setups. It's just a lot more rewarding, but that's just my preference. I think this was the only time I didn't get the wonder weapon from the trials first time, because usually you get it first time, I'd say 80% of the time. But we get it at around 25, which is still pretty early, and as you can see, it's like this axe. But you can also turn it into this like SMG thing. I don't know, it's pretty fun to use. Same with the axe mode. I find Cold War just gives you really good stuff and just says, look, just go cause chaos. And basically to get to around 100, our strategy is literally in the pizzeria. And Cold War's Easter eggs weren't too bad. This one's pretty fun. You greet with this zombie, it's called Ronald's Ray Gun. And there's this task where you just deliver the pizzas and there's a chance you get a ray gun. I did not. But for the last of this setup, we just sit in this room, get a ton of points, and then just Pack-a-Punch everything up to the max tier. And also we'll gather a load of salvage, which we'll need for the higher rounds. But basically you stay in this room, and whenever you get your Ring of Fire, use it. And once it's run out, I personally use War Machines to get it back. And whenever I'm in a sticky situation, I use the Black Hole Grenades. They're really useful, they're really OP, and if you really need to, you can jump through them as well. I did have my first down on round 58. It was so silly, and a lot of my downs in this game are always just, they could be avoided. And I find with Cold War, I get cocky and I get a bit complacent, and I just have downs that are unnecessary. But if I ever down on Forsaken, I just take this route. You just go back to the PhD room, and I just take this portal to the Wonder Fizz, throw a Black Hole Grenade down and just get all my perks back. Recovering on Cold War's really not scary. On any other Black Ops, it's absolutely terrifying when you're down. But Cold War's really generous considering you can have unlimited downs as well. So I never really took that much care of how many downs I'd have in my games. But yeah, for the rest of the rounds, we just stay in this room. It's pretty simple. I think we had a couple of more downs just from same again, just not concentrating. As you can see here, we reached round 100, and I think it only took me about 2.5 hours, which is really fast for around 100, compared to Black Ops 3, which you're there for like 6 hours plus. Another thing I found interesting as well was you have to get to round 101 to basically get around 100. If we died on the 100th round, then it would say we survived 99, which that'd be so annoying if you died at the end. And at the end of each map at Exfil, I did like the Exfil idea, but I just think they could have been a bit harder. I think they should have just upped the count for the hostiles to eliminate, because honestly, whatever round you Exfil on, it just didn't feel any more difficult. And with these black hole grenades, it makes it so ridiculously easy. There's our first round 100. If I was to rate this map on difficulty, 1 being super easy and 10 being impossible, it's easily getting a 2. But it is super fun. Next is Mauer de Toten. Just before this came out, I remember there was rumours that this was the city that Kino de Toten was in. And when I played it and realised it wasn't, I was so sad. I felt like it was a missed opportunity that would have been really good. But to kick things off, I just stay on this top roof and just gather a load of points. And one thing I did forget on Forsaken was the Rampage Inducer, which basically until round 56 speeds up the zombies. Once again, Cold War making an already fast-paced game even faster. I do, however, quickly regret it because it's way too intense. Quick hit of the mystery box. As you can see, things are pretty wild. At round 9, I do turn it off just so I can start opening some of the map. But the startup just basically sets for turning on the power, and the power is located in a subway, and I just thought this was really cool because it really made Mauer feel like an actual city. To turn on the power, you just have to kill 2 Tempests. Once you've killed them, they drop 2 batteries, and then we've got power. First thing I do was the power zone straight to the Wonderfizz, buy a few perks, and then initiate the Pack-a-Punch sequence. I know I've said before Cold War lacks in difficulty, but one of the biggest problems I find it has, it kind of holds your hand doing everything. For instance, there's loads of markers around the map telling you where to go, and even for items that you need to pick up. So I really hope that Black Ops 6 doesn't follow that format, because like I said before, learning the area and how to build things and where the PCs are located throughout the map is way more fun. Turn the Rampage Inducer back on, and then just start blitzing through the trials, and then first try we get the Wonder Weapon. I actually don't know how to pronounce this gun's name, I'm pretty sure it's Cerberus, I might be wrong. But essentially for me it was just a really OP ray gun that could turn into 3 different models as well. Straight away Pack-a-Punch it though, because this is our main gun for the strategy that we're going to use. The area that we're going to train in for the round 100 is just in the power room. And I like it just because it's got a nice area to train, we keep that door shut right behind us. And all the zombies just spawn on the 2 windows either side of the room. And Mauer is harder than Forsaken, but I actually enjoy it, it's way more enjoyable playing this map, it keeps you like on your toes a little bit more. Much prefer playing zombie maps where I have to concentrate instead of just sitting in a corner camping. But same again, the strategy is pretty much the same. I just use my war machine whenever I need to regen my ring of fire. Black hole grenades just in case you get in a sticky situation. And having the workbench right here in this room as well makes this strategy so easy. And whenever you get your ring of fire, just use it with the Cerberus. Once I got to round 100, I thought it'd be really funny to use nothing but the black hole grenades. But for some reason when I throw it, it didn't register. So I downed on the 100th round. Definitely one of my most ridiculous deaths. Look, even when I throw it, the zombies are just going wham on me. Super quick recovery. And now it's time to exfil. The same again, it's just super easy. I wish it gave you like 10 panzers to kill or something. But to rate this map on difficulty, I'll give it a 3. Next is Firebase, and one of the things that will stick with me when this map came out, they took 3 to 4 months to release this, and this was the first DLC, so it really did feel like an eternity until this came out. I think Firebase might actually be my favourite Cold War map. Being in Vietnam is always a cool setting, but it was cool how the first room was separate to the rest of the map. But as you already know, we just stay in the first room, rack up a load of points. To be fair, one thing I did forget to mention, spawning in with basically a bowie knife, absolutely great. Quickly buy a quick revive, and then travel to the main area. The power's turned on by doing these 3 generators. They are kind of like the power generators from Origins, so if they are turned off, there are some consequences. Get Jug, do the last 2 generators, and grab Stamina. And you know the order: Pack-a-Punch, buy PhD Slider, Rampage Inducer, start the trials, and the first time as always, the Wonder Weapon. Instead of dog rounds on this map, we get the order, and I thought it was refreshing, and it was quite difficult. But basically, you've got a set amount of time to kill a wave of zombies, as well as this absolute massive monster. And he was kind of like a boss that came every 10 rounds. But honestly, the strategy I used for round 100, I just let the order destroy the generator. Because for me, it was just way easier turning the generators back on. And maybe it's just me being really bad at the game, or just not having an idea of how the order works. But on the higher rounds, I would fail most times. So if you're like me and you struggle with the order, honestly, just do this strategy. Now the main strategy for Firebase is just in the weapon lab. You just keep the door behind you closed, essentially use the same strategy as the other maps, with Ring of Fire, Black Hole Grenades and War Machines. In a bit more context to why Firebase is my favourite, what you'll see from this clip right here is way harder. In any of the other maps I'd rarely have red screen moments, but Firebase is quite consistent. Don't get me wrong, Firebase isn't much harder, but I think Cold War as a whole would have been better if all the maps had this sort of difficulty. It's actually here on Firebase where I have my favourite moment doing these round 100s. So we're down in the weapons lab, and from a previous down I actually forgot to buy a self-revive kit. Though luckily, as you can see before, I used the tombstone, and as I'm trying to get to the portal to get to the Wonder Fizz, I get trapped. Looking back on this clip, I tried to throw a black hole grenade that I didn't have, but now all I've got is my quick revive, and the only way I can get myself up is if I kill a zombie. And at this point, I really thought the game was over, right on round 73. Even watching this back, I have no idea how this happened, but I actually somehow kill a zombie. And I have to admit, it was quite a buzz after thinking the game was completely over. So after I just really take my time, get my perks back. And after all that, I thought the game had glitched, but luckily there was just a mangler for some reason standing still here. And it was just weird because the game before, I had to restart because for some reason the minimap was showing there was a zombie. And at first I thought it was invisible, so I tried literally every way I could think of killing it, but the game is just glitched. Now, I remember Cold War was always a bit buggy, but I'm really surprised that there's still glitches in it now. One of my favourite parts of the map is the Ray K. It's just another cool version of the ray gun, but honestly, I find it pretty awkward to use. I find switching between the modes of the Ray K a little bit weird, and I don't know if that's just because I'm on controller. It's still a great gun though, and it is a lot of fun to use. Finally, time to exfil, and I know I said I want the exfils to be harder, but if the exfil was a wave of the order, I would literally be but to rank Firebase on difficulty, I'll give it a 4. It's still not a difficult map, but I would say it's the hardest map on Cold War. Or maybe I'm just really bad at Firebase. Either way, it is my favourite of the 4. So definitely let me know down in the comments what your favourite Cold War map is. And last but not least, Die Machine. I've also heard people call it D-Machiner, and honestly, I really don't know about that. This first room for me though is so nostalgic now. I remember me and my friend got around 60 just in the first room, and I spent a lot of time playing this map. Same as always though, I just stay in the first room for the first 12 rounds. One of the things that always confused me is why Stamina Up and Jug got power. And setting up Die Machine's really easy. These markers around the map is just a perfect example of holding Yan constantly. Like, I'm pretty sure I could have figured out and remembered to press them buttons. I thought the Dark Ether was a cool idea. The colour palette was very zombies, but whoever decided jellyfish in the sky, you failed a bit there. And to be honest, for the Dark Ether story, they really underused the actual ether. I will admit I spent hours down here grinding the Dark Ether camo. And an Easter egg that I still haven't forgotten is this orb one. Once you've shot the 5 orbs, you get given one of these crates that gives you some good loot. And this absolute meme of an Easter egg. But as always, Trials and the DIE Shockwave. And one last time the Rampage Inducer. And this strategy is just as easy as the others. Keep this door shut and just camp at the top of Nax for the rest of the game. Once you pack a punch the Shockwave, it becomes the Dead Thunderblast. And to summarise this gun, it's just a Hoover, or if you're American, a vacuum. And it is pretty fun to use, but it's the same enjoyment level and satisfaction of just hoovering your carpet. It's somewhat satisfying, but I'd rather just do something else. But the strategies, you guessed what, same as always. Use the Ring of Fire whenever you can. To recharge your Ring of Fire, you just shoot the Thunderbolts. It is after making this video and getting all these round 100s, I do realise now that Cold War is very repetitive. Come to think of it, this probably will be the last time I ever play Cold War Zombies. And that's because now more than ever, it's really run its course for me. I did down a couple of times in this game as well, and I'm just putting it down to playing all these maps back to back, and just losing focus from the monotony, or maybe I'm just making myself feel better. Either way, it has pushed me to play Black Ops 3 again, and I am going to try to make a round 100 video on it. The skill gap between BO3 and Cold War is quite significant, so I guess we'll see. But here we go, as you can see, I do reach round 101. We start the exfil, kill one last Megaton. And to rate this map on difficulty, I'd say about 3. To summarise Cold War Zombies for me, I do love it. I do definitely look back at it now with some nostalgia. When this came out, it really did get me through the year, and it actually might be one of my favourite CODs. But yeah, just let me know if you like this video. Be sure to tell me what you think of Cold War Zombies. But as always, stay safe, don't pick a fight with the grizzly bear, and subscribe or your favourite COD's Vanguard.